this buzzy title that I know nothing about. I want to go to that. I can imagine what they think right now. They think all of you are crazy. They're wondering what they just watched. Like a student art project.
I ended up going to TIFF, and for those of you who didn't know, I went to see the best movie, and it was voted best movie by the people. It got the award for People's Choice at TIFF. This movie was Nirvana, the band, the show. No, sorry, that's the TV show. The actual movie is called Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. I am a fan of the show. I am also a mega fan of the movie.
It's a very niche show. There's very few people who can even approach it without being repelled.
Hey y'all, so firstly, yes, it is a very niche show like Matt said. However, they at the same time have 193 million followers on their show's YouTube channel. So can the two things exist at once? I mean, what? Is this like a glitch? I don't understand. It is great fun for anyone who is a Toronto local. You get to see Toronto on full display. You get to see a fun, incredibly confusing shot and visuals that take place on the CN Tower and off the CN Tower. A lot of early 2008 humor. Think about The Office. Think about other things that are basically ripoffs of The Office. Think about videoing people like they're doing a documentary style real life of following these two boys that are now men, and they basically are doing a bunch of crazy shenanigans trying to get their band to play at the Rivoli. So for those of you that don't know, the Rivoli is a local restaurant and concert venue that small local bands in Toronto play at. It is not a hard gig to land. Two of my friends have actually performed there. So the whole gag of the show is their band is so bad or so small that they literally cannot even get a gig at the Rivoli. However, it is interesting because in this movie, we get a storyline that basically follows Matt and Jay. Now, if you didn't know, Matt and Jay both worked on the movie Blackberry, the Blackberry film about the Blackberry phones. They were able to get Glenn Hamilton to be one of the actors. He was freaking hilarious. You know him from like Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Matt Johnson was one of the main actors in Blackberry. He also directed the movie. Jay had more of like a smaller role. He was behind the scenes. He did some of the composing for the film. So Matt is definitely a lot more well known in the industry. And they definitely use that as a bit of a plot line in this film. You know, given that it's been about, like, I think 7 years or something since the TV show that they made way back in 2000 and, was it 8? Yeah, they made this TV show way back when. And over the years, you know, we got to see them grow popularity within the film industry. However, we get to see Matt being more in the spotlight. And this movie basically follows the idea of what if those roles were reversed? What if Jay actually ended up being the one who got more fame and more recognition for the art that he creates? And we follow this storyline of, in an alternative world, the boys never ended up being the best friends that they are, and what their lives would look like if one person was at the top, the other person was down below in terms of happiness. We get to see that play back and forth. We get to see a bunch of comedy. We get to see a bunch of crazy stunts that who knows if they're real. The boys said that they would release a Blu-ray DVD potentially showing all of the behind the scenes of this film. So we may eventually get to see which stunts are real and which stunts aren't. However, this movie was fantastic. I did end up seeing it in row AA, which is the very front row. That's the only thing they had available when I bought the tickets. However, worth it. I'm that big of a fan. And when the directors and actors, Jay and Matt, ended up coming out at the end of the TIFF film, they actually ended up taking questions and speaking to the audience and being right next to me. They were right there. And unfortunately, the dude who was picking up the names of people who wanted to speak, for some reason, kept ignoring me, even though I was literally front row. You can't avoid me, dude. I'm the only Asian one there. he for some reason didn't pick my question. And it sucks because I literally was gonna be like, yo, this is my exact question to Matt and Jay. I was gonna say, hey guys, so basically, I'm a fan of the show, and I wanted to know which stunts were your favorite stunts to perform, and which ones were actually real throughout the entirety of your career. Which were your favorite stunts to pull off? That was my question. And I was also gonna mention how they actually stole the baby from the church. That was actually my church that I grew up in. You know when like the churches do the setup for like Christmas, and they like, you know, they do the whole baby Jesus, and they do like the Mother Mary, and like, you know, the like ceremony of baby Jesus being born. They stole a baby from that church, and that was literally my church. And I was like, oh my god, look at this string theory. We were meant to collide. Anyways, I didn't get a photo, but I got a video. This is too much talking. Here are the behind the scenes videos from TIFF.
I'll give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions in a second. To start things off, your process is, largely you and Jay will go try to, perform a premise or achieve a premise, and often you're at the mercy of the public and how the public will affect or color the scene. What were some of the most important interactions that you had with the public while making this film that really maybe changed the course of where the story was going?
Okay, yeah, like ones that literally made us change the script. I think the CN Tower was the biggest one, but I'll say one that's maybe a bit more human that you guys actually got to see, because what the shadow answer to that question is, it's the interactions where Jay and I go thinking something will happen, and it doesn't happen the way we wanted, and then we move off of that storyline. Those are the ones where, for Jay and I, it's the biggest, like, whoa, okay, we're making a different movie than what we thought, and you guys don't actually see that stuff. But the one where Jay and I were shooting it, and right afterwards we were like, oh my god. We always know we did something great when we're going to Jared afterwards, being like, did we get that? Like I hope we got that, and it was with that guy Arush at Canadian Tire.
And there are just so many countless times where MJ will call me and be like, I found it, watch this, and he'll have found like the song where we both in lockstep are just like, eureka moment. So that is one of those moments where I just remember being like, oh, thank God we have our ending now.
How did you pull off the scenes that you're interacting with your younger selves?
All of that younger stuff was, that whole 2008 sequence was sort of written and structured by our editors, who went painstakingly through all of our old web series footage, grabbed highlights and pertinent things that are maybe usable, and they kind of put together a story. We had some...
and then your production designer
rebuilt our apartment on a soundstage, some body doubles, some effects.
But you probably won't, like, there really aren't that many tricks involved, if that's what you're wondering. Like, I think what I've heard since the movie's now been seen by a few thousand people, I think that there's a common misconception that we created that footage, or that we are using AI to put words in our mouths.
Yeah.
It was the literal exact opposite. We constructed the new stuff to match literally exactly what our young selves did. And it was a great limitation. It was almost like a good writing exercise, because we're stuck. The scene between me and young Jay is absurd. The things that he's saying are unbelievable. He goes from talking about the H1N1 virus to his grandmother in a hospital in Montreal to Russell Peters without breaking. And so it's so fun because Jay and I get to react to it live as though our improv partner is insane.
Looking back, I can't remember why we were even filming ourselves. We used to just film ourselves all the time, even like in between us trying to come up with scene work or anything. It was how the show kind of was growing.
Jay's got a great metaphor for this show, which is that making the show is like riding a bicycle. It doesn't get easier, you just go faster. And that really is what it's been like. It's the same degree of difficulty that it was when we were making the web show, in my opinion. Because the real things that are hard to do are solving the story problems. The things that when you watch it, you don't even think about. Those that we slave like crazy agonizing arguments over like the tiniest little story beats that will happen, and the actual going out and shooting it is physically stressful, but it is nothing compared to the other work. But I understand the spirit of your question, which is that as people watch the show, it's harder to create it, like it doesn't defeat itself, and that has never been our experience. Again, it's a very niche show. There's very few people who can even approach it without being repelled. And so if you love it, that's great. Like that's a privilege you give to us. But the majority of Torontonians could care less about us. They think that we're crazy. And so they avoid us. And so we haven't had issues shooting the show at all.
Yes.
The show obviously prepared for circumventing copyrights. And there's a joke in Adele. I'm just curious, as this leaves theaters, is there an expectation that a lot of these edits or changes to a home version?
The question is about whether or not this is a legally releasable film.
Now.
Yeah, and it was bought by Eon. It's being released worldwide February, I think around February 13th. Pictures who've been our partners, who they made BlackBerry with us. They made it like they're the real secret recipe. This distribution company in Canada that allows me to make these movies like this, and through a process that I cannot reveal to you. But it will be released. You'll be able to see this movie probably in this theater in February when you guys all want to go back and see it again.
We're going to have to wrap it up, but I wanted to ask, how do you see this movie fitting in with the series, and will the series continue?
I'd love it too. And I think it's all
I'll give one crazy spoiler that is related to this question, which if you are a real fan of the show, you'll be excited by this, and that is that there is a season 3 episode that we shot where you get to see this exact movie, except as it goes at the end of this movie. So the entire opening act is that scene that you watch at the beginning of the film of me running down and Jay saying, hey, wait, maybe there'll be weather, so we should jump early. And then you get to see what happens when that plan works. but don't tell anybody that. So the answer is yes, they interact in a very unique way where it makes the movie a kind of bottle universe that only Jamie Carroll knows about. The series continues in linear time. I am, but what?
All canon. Folks, remember to vote for the film. This is one of your last chances to vote.
Anyway, I can only say thank you so much.
All of that to say, please go watch the movie. Okay, bye.